Hello, Form 4 students. I'm Mr. Poon. Today is our lesson 13. It is a writing lesson, and we have to learn the genre, a letter of advice. Under the module, workplace communication. First of all, let's learn the structure of a letter of advice. Let's read the question first. You are Chris Wong, a social worker trainee at the Social Welfare Department. You received a letter from a desperate Form 4 student who has been facing various problems. Desperate means sad, S-A-D, and various means different. And then you can see there are 3 bullet points. 1, 2, 3. It means there are 3 problems. Let's look at the 3 problems the Form 4 student is facing. The first problem is a cramped and noisy living place leading to poor performance at school. The second problem is a lack of privacy because his family members can hear what he says on phone. Last but not least, he doesn't have enough money, so he can't hang out with his friends very often. So these are the 3 problems the Form 4 students are facing. So let's write down 1, 2, 3 to indicate the problems. As the happiness of school days cannot be tasted, the students wants to drop out of school and find a job, which means the student doesn't want to go to school anymore. Instead, he wants to go straight to work. And now you need to write a letter of reply. So to give him some advice. This is the purpose, the aim of a letter of advice, which is to give advice. So let's have a look at the sample test together. And from this sample test, we will learn the structure of a letter of advice. Dear desperate Form 4 students, and you can see dear here. Remember, when you start writing a letter or an email, you need to start with dear. This part is what we call the salutation. Okay, then we go to the next part. Not only am I saddened by your misfortunes. Okay, I have something wrong here. This one should be misfortune. But I am also sorry to hear the problems facing you. I understand that you must be living very unhappily, but every cloud has a silver lining. So every cloud has a silver lining. This one is an idiom. In your writing, if you want to add fun to your text, you can use some idioms or idiomatic expressions to make your writing more interesting. Trust me, you can get through all the problems and see the sunshine in the future. The following is my advice to your problems. So, after the salutation, we move on to the next part. And the next part is an introduction of your writing. And what should you include in this introduction? First of all, you may have a look at not starting from not only until in the future. This part shows the writer's sympathy with the Form 4 students' situation. After that, you can see the curved lines. The following is my advice to your problems. This one is what we call the test plan. A test plan is a writing plan telling what you are going to say in your writing. So a test plan is an important part in your writing. After the introduction, then we move on to the body. This one is a letter of advice. Before you give advice, you should mention problems. I really feel pity for you that you do not have privacy at home because your flat is so small. Yes, privacy is very important. If I were you, I would not like to be hurt either, especially when talking about personal matters. This part is the problem the writer is facing. Maybe you don't remember which problem? Let's have a look at the question. Yes, you're so smart. This one is problem 2. So we write down problem 2. And you also need to describe, give some details of problem 2. You can't just say the problem. You need to tell me more about the problem. You need to elaborate on the problem. Nevertheless, have you considered changing the medium of your communication? You could use emails or instant messages like Facebook messages or WhatsApp to communicate with your friends. So this part we know is like a solution to the problem, as this is problem 2. So this part we call solution 2. And you can't just give the solution. You also need to give me the detail of the solution. Solution is your advice to the problem. Bear this in mind. Okay, then we go to the next part. I am sad to hear that you have to study in such a lousy. And what is the meaning of lousy? Lousy means atrocious, deplorable, and or bad. So these are the alternatives to lousy. I understand that it is difficult to concentrate if it is too noisy. Moreover, it is hard to do well after midnight. So we know this is problem 1. And you can't just state the problem. You need to provide details. Remember that. And moreover means also. Then what's your solution? Nonetheless. Nonetheless means however. I know that there are many study areas in libraries or community centers which can provide you with a quiet and peaceful environment for your study. More importantly, most of them are free of charge. Therefore, you can study and do your assignments during the daytime. Okay, assignments means homework. As you are now Form 4, not P4 or Form 1, you need to use more difficult words to show your English standard, your English level. So we know this is the solution 1 to the problem. Solution 1 to the problem 1. Then we keep reading. Oh yes, do not forget to relax in your free time. Even though money is indispensable, it is never the most important thing in our lives. Yes, this part is about money. And money is also the problem the writer, the Form 4 student is facing. So we know this is problem 3. And you also need to provide the details. Actually, relaxation does not require much money. Many community centers and government sports complexes offer sports facilities and interest classes free of charge. I know that you always feel sad that you can't take place in exorbitantly priced. Exorbitantly priced means expensive activities with your friends. So why don't you take them to the community centers? And we know as the writer doesn't have money to hang out with his friends. Chris, you are Chris, right? Suggests the Form 4 students hangs out with his friends in community centers, sports complexes of government to do sports free of charge. So this is a solution 3 to the problem 3. Then we keep reading. In fact, school days are really the happiest days of many of our lives because students at least do not have to earn their own living to make ends meet. So to earn their own living to make ends meet, this is a very good phrase. Earn their own living 賺錢 makes ends meet 達至收支平衡. So this sentence is usually used to describe Hong Kong's working parents. So you may use this phrase to form another sentence. For example, Hong Kong working parents are busy earning their own living to make ends meet. Then we keep reading. On the other hand, working is much harder. Furthermore, it is very hard to find a job nowadays, especially when you just have Form 4 academic credentials. So credentials means qualifications. So we usually say quali 得中寫 quali 點揾工呢? Even if you manage to find one, you will not be well paid. As a result, why don't you study hard to better equip yourself in the current stage? So this paragraph is like an ending. And in this ending, we know the writer, Chris, doesn't want the Form 4 students to give up learning. Instead, Chris would like the Form 4 students to continue his studies. So the writer make a comparison between study and work in this paragraph. Okay, we are very close to the end. Actually, I earnestly hope. So for earnestly, hope means what? You would like to express hope. 指望. So in writing, you may use I earnestly hope to express hope. You can find my advice helpful and useful. If you would like to drop me a few lines means write me a letter. Just feel free to do so anytime. I will be your best listener and write you back. So these two parts combined as the ending of the letter of advice. Then we move on to the last part, which is the complimentary clause. And in the complimentary clause, you have two parts: best wishes, quiz. Okay, so if you don't want to use best wishes, you may use regards with an S or all the best. And don't forget the comma. Okay, so you can see this is the structure of a letter of replies. Hope you enjoyed the lesson and learn the structure. See you.